What wedding moment made you think, they're not going to last long? As a wedding photographer, I have been to more than my share of weddings. It was a real shotgun wedding. Dad didn't realize it would not stand up in court. Only time the groom was more excited to have photos than the bride. She wanted a limo. He thought a hearse would be better and kept doing lurch impressions. From the Addams family. Her friends took turns motorboating her. Females. And he said, "Get it out of your system, as after tonight, you never get to do that again." Was a good sign also when she dove into the pool with her bridesmaids at the reception. In her wedding dress. Don't know what happened. Sat down with bride and groom, filling out the contract. Got the deposit, he stood up, said forget it, and walked out. 2 months later, I get told the wedding is off. 3 months later, she calls to rebook. Different groom. Day of the wedding, I am at the church. Got the final payment the week before. No one shows. No one. Just me and the DJ. The groom took the stupid cake thing to an extreme. The bride had given him his bite and mushed a little on his chin or nose. He then took a piece and mashed it into her face so hard that I was expecting her to end up with a bloody nose. Cake and frosting got up her nose and her eyes, down the front of her dress, etc. The bride had to go get cleaned up, had her makeup redone, and was ugly crying within an hour of saying "I do." He didn't give a fuck. When she went alone on her honeymoon because she booked a trip to the Caribbean despite her newlywed husband having a severe sun allergy. Groom got into a fist fight with the father of the bride. Split after 4 months. Context. Groom and bride's dad, actually most people in these families if I'm honest, have pretty aggressive drinking problems. Father-in-law has always hated him. I wasn't around for what actually set it off, but it ended when the bride got in the middle. Got an elbow in the eye, and the happy couple left for the night. This was in rural Canada. Not Letterkenny, but basically Letterkenny. I'd say the father-in-law won the fight though. The entire bridal party, including parents of the wedded couple, entering into a betting pool of how long the marriage would last at the wedding reception. If I remember correctly, the best man won, Price is Right rules, at 14 months. I was the best man at a wedding a few years back. At the rehearsal dinner, his future in-laws were treating him like crap. They were bossing him around, making him do crap, and talking down to him. They didn't let him hang out with his groomsmen afterwards while the bride went out and got drunk. They are now divorced. When the groom started off his speech by saying, "We all know I didn't want to get married, but we're here for bride and child we had together." 1 year, 3 months later, they were finished. The groom had a best woman instead of a best man. Nothing wrong with that, but her toast left the whole room in awkward silence because she was clearly in love with him. Had an old boss who was divorced. He told me once, "I should have known it wasn't going to last when the only happy moment I had on my wedding day was when I snuck out to smoke weed with my buddies in the parking lot." 2 friends of mine got married, and when they gave their vows, the guy started laughing at the part about being faithful. Oops. Wedding photographer here. I can think of a few. Full-blown row during dinner. Had another couple fistfight during a first dance. An infamous one for me was leaving a venue late one night, and as I'm walking to the train, I could see the bride down an alley on her knees with the best man. I was the wedding photographer for a reality TV show. End of the night, I'm having a few drinks with the film crew, and the groom has come up to me and one of the producers and says, "I think I made a big mistake." So we're trying to be reassuring and telling him it's natural to second guess such a big decision, to which he replies, "No, I think I'm gay." I had them both on Facebook. The drama the next week was mesmerizing to watch unfold. I've got a ton of these stories. Edit. Since you asked. Was working with a video guy who had the bride and groom on radio mics. Sat around for the evening action to kick off, and the video dude called me over and said, "Listen to this." Groom was talking to one of the bridesmaids about how they had to end their affair now that he's married. Not a, "how could you tell they wouldn't last," but shooting in an old church on the hottest day of the year. Watching the groom wait for the bride and he's swaying back and forth. Next thing, he's fainted, fallen forward and slammed his mouth into a stone step. Smashed his front teeth out. Blood everywhere. Had a bride and groom on a trampoline for photos. Groom's heading downward, bride's about to go up. He lands on her dress just as she goes up, and she pops out of the top of the dress, boobs flailing around in the air. Shot a traveler wedding which erupted into a massive brawl. Watched a drunk usher knock over a wedding cake. Weddings are amazing. I've been doing this for about 12 years and seen some sights, but I still love shooting them even now. The most beautiful wedding I've been to ended in divorce. Venue was where the groom's father is buried, and he cried as he made his vows to the bride there. Turned out he'd been cheating on her for months, and they divorced a while later. Something so repugnant about marrying someone you're cheating on, practically over your father's grave. To date, it's the only wedding I've been to that ended in divorce. They got secretly married at the local town hall out of spite to the girl's father who did not agree with the relationship. This happened right out of high school, and they divorced during my sophomore year at college. I used to work for an event center that hosted a lot of weddings pre-COVID. After one ceremony, I saw the groom slap the butt of one of the bridesmaids in the hallway. She laughed and with a big smile said, "Oh, Jeremy, you'll never change." Showed up to the wedding of a friend of my husband's who I knew casually. When we arrived at the church, the groom was very drunk in the parking lot, and getting drunker by the minute. I thought it was kinda nuts since it was a full Catholic ceremony which involved lots of kneeling and standing. I honestly have no idea how he made it through that, but he did. At the reception, he proceeded to continue the drinking party, while his new wife cried in the washroom. When it was time for the first dance, he kind of stumbled around the dance floor despite a year of dance lessons. When it was time for him to take his new wife's garter off and throw it to the bachelors, he instead did a striptease type dance and got himself down to his underwear, in front of many elderly family members. People were shocked and talking, and all in all, it was a shit show. I gave this marriage a year or two tops. They, however, are still married 25 plus years later. A month before the wedding, the couple made an appointment with me, the church music director organist, to plan music for the ceremony. Each made suggestions on music he or she would like, but no matter how many pieces were considered and demonstrated, they couldn't agree on anything, and would get into heated arguments over processionals, recessionals, vocal solos, and prelude music, even though they were all good possibilities. The bride and groom simply seemed indifferent to one another's wishes and needs. In the end, based on what I heard each of them most wanting, I offered compromises in an effort to bring about peace, selections which they finally agreed to. They were engaged, but showed no signs of being in love. I was maid of honor. Me, best man, and the couple went into a separate little room to do the signing stuff. Bride excused herself to go to the bathroom, and the groom started making pretty mean remarks about her cooking, something she's passionate about, to the officiary. She came back, heard they were talking about cooking family meals together, and gave him the warmest smile, thinking he had praised her. He scoffed awkwardly and changed the topic. That always stuck with me. He wasn't laughing with her, but at her, behind her back. They lasted 7 months. The bride and groom did the first dance, then spent the rest of the reception completely apart from each other, getting shit-faced with their own separate friend groups. The only other dancing all night was the bride dancing with her high school friends, the father-daughter dance, and the mother-son dance, during which the groom was crying. The best man's speech didn't mention the bride at all and basically boiled down to, "Groom, you're married now, but our bond is older and stronger. All of our hunting and fishing trips together are the best thing in our lives. Can't wait for more." Such a sad, desperate atmosphere. They made it a little over 1 year. My husband was the best man at the wedding. The bride was a nightmare. Not just during the wedding, but in general everyday life. All of the friends hated her, and she had no friends of her own. We knew it was doomed when, during the portraits, the bride was making everyone miserable as can be. The groom said, exact words, "I'll just send her to therapy, and if that doesn't work, we can just get divorced." The bachelor party and the bachelorette party were in Vegas at the same time, across the hall from each other. The bride and groom got in a huge fight on the last night of the trip, and when I was leaving I said, "I'll see you guys at the wedding," to the groom, and he replied, "I'm not sure there's gonna be one." There was a wedding, but they were divorced within 18 months, I believe. Wedding photographer here. I think my favorite moment was when I was sitting at the miscellaneous table with all the randoms and the girl next to me, the groom's ex, drunkenly admitted to sleeping with the groom a few months prior. At my wedding, she paused for a long second before saying yes. The woman marrying us was like, oh, she's thinking about it. She laughed it off and said yes. We lasted 3, almost 4 years married. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, press the like button, and write in the comments what red flags you saw at the wedding.